This is February 19th, 2013. This is Nora Jean. City of Clay is going to be where I sent out a shout out to the Claymates saying, "What do you want?" You know, we're doing like short order video tutorials. And Fred from the UK, bless his heart, he says, "Oh, Auntie, pretty please, can we do Ivory?" Because he wants to do scrimshaw. And these are examples of antique scrimshaw. Ivory being banned because, you know, thousands of elephants as well as hippopotamuses and hippopotami and whales and classic ivory is from the teeth or tusks. And this is a whale tooth. This picture here is whale teeth. Now I find ivory, doing faux ivory is a fascinating a request because I want to do uh, stuff like this, like Japanese. This is carved Chinese beads of heads. I like making little heads. These are antique ivory beads. This is a vintage estate sale. There are uh, these bone, these length, like I don't know, like tube beads, but you do it with faux ivory, and you do some carving, and then you add some color to it. Um, what is this? Strand cream ivory. Oh, this is pearl, ivory and pearl. So these, I I find these are fascinating to do, and you can do ivory on all sorts of things. You know, like carve elephants. Yes. So when we were sort of kicking around the idea, I thought Desiree has a tutorial because Desiree's Desired Creations. She has like how-tos. She has wonderful how-tos. She took a class with Tori Hughes, a workshop, and this is her tutorial on making ivory. And she asked for 1 part champagne, buff or beige color clay. Other tutorials had suggested ecru. I went, I didn't know what they mean by champagne, but ecru is a color, and this is made her Desiree's tutorial is bullseyes of translucent and non-translucent colors, reiterated and stacked, and then she makes it into a bone. And so, and that's an example. Nifty, isn't that nifty? And see the striations right there? And see, this is all the reiteration of those um, uh, bullseyes of translucent and you know, colored clay. So, and she does such nice work. I mean, and also she's a really sweet gal. I met her at a clay event. Okay, so then I went and looked up Ecru for a color, and it seems like Ecru is just sort of like aged beige. You take like a light cream and you kind of age it a little bit, and it could be either aged yellow or kind of aged brown, depending on what the thing is that got aged. So I thought, well, I did some yellow experimentation with color cards for giraffe. This is my 2009 giraffe, and this is the color cards that I made for it. Cause and I used white, yellow, and brown. This is white, yellow, and brown, more than one ever had to ever use. And this is what I use for making my color cards. I use a small round cutter and a leaf, and then I start cutting out rations. I use brown, use yellows, use white, and then I do rations. And this is 1 ration of brown, 2 rations of white, 1 ration of yellow makes this color here. If we add more yellow and white, it's this. If we add or this is yellow and white together here, this is brown and white to here. And so just experimenting with different ratios to try to find, I was trying to find a nice giraffe color. So these were the two colors that I was going to use for giraffe. This is the base that I'm going to be using for ecru. I'm adding more white. So I'll do 1 ration of burnt umber, 3 rations of white, and 2 of yellow. See if we can get an ecru. And that is the start of our faux ivory effort. Second section of the faux ivory effort of February 19th, 2013. I showed you the web section for the color cards. This is the actual color card that you saw on the website, and you can see that they're really small. You don't really have to use large amounts of clay to test colors. People are often surprised that when I pull out my color cards, they fit in a lot of them fit in an Altoid tin. So this is the ratio that we're going to start with, but we're going to add 1 more white, and we'll see if that gives us an ecru. And I'll be using the round cutter tool so we can get you know, a fair size. When you're doing color cards, always use the same thickness of clay with the ratios that you're doing, so you know that whether you're using, you know, a small circle or just a small leaf bit, or if you're using a pound of each, the ratios are the same. You know, it doesn't. That's why I love doing color cards, because it doesn't say use 2 ounces or 15 grams of. You know, it just says parts. 1 part this, 1 part that. Oh, the focus. So let's do this bottom one here. We're doing 1 part of burnt umber, and we're doing 3 parts of white, and we're doing 2 parts cadmium yellow. Do they even make the zinc yellow anymore? I wonder. And then we're going to gather these all up, and we're going to mix them. When you're mixing clay, just remember the same amount of time that it takes to mix like 3 colors like this, that's the amount of conditioning all clay should get before you use it. So that's a good rule of thumb. And you say, how long should I condition my clay? As long as it takes to mix a couple of colors together and get them homogenized. Now this looks still a little too dark. So we used 3 rations. Okay, we can keep track. We used 3 rations of white. Let's use another ration. In fact, let's use 2 more rations. So we're using 5 rations of white, 2 of yellow, and 1 of brown. And just once I was mixing a mix called melted cheddar cheese for miniature cheeseburgers. It turned out that it really worked well for making a toasty top on miniature bread. And so I used, in my first effort in mixing melted cheddar cheese, I had like this much, as much as from my wrist to my elbow. I had that much. Yeah, that's still, it's lighter, obviously. It's lighter than what we have on the color card, but I'm still thinking that it should be a tad lighter. So we're going to do, these are 7 rations of white, 1 of brown, 2 of yellow. So, I went on tour in 2001, the Easy Breezy Tour. I was giving away melted cheddar cheese and showing the ladies, the miniaturists, how to use it for their miniature food. I was giving away right and left because I just made too much. Because I kept on adding and it wasn't right, and I kept on adding more and it wasn't right, and I was just adding these huge amounts. It was crazy. So then years later, when I finally used it all up, I said, God, I don't even know what ratios I did. So I had to do, where is it? I had to do a whole color card of various efforts to find the one that worked. And it was this recipe up here, but with half portions of the red. That's how, and these are little pieces of like a croissant, little buns and stuff. But this is how I test colors. Do it small. You don't have to make something as big as your arm. Let's see. Yeah, see, it's a whole lot lighter. And I'd say that looks somewhat like the Ecru that I saw online. And we're going to be, because this is going to be this is the color that's going to age our faux ivory, because it's going to be white, Ecru, and translucent. That's going to be the trick. Okay? So that's our effort. So when I record this for my own records, I'm going to be taking this small cutter, and I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7 whites, 1 brown, 2 yellow. I'll use this mix. I'll get another card because this card's running out of space, and I'll add that to that, and I just have stacks of color cards. You just won't believe it, but it saved me time, because since I did this in 2009 for the giraffe, I didn't have to reinvent the wheel to get to a starting point. We got our Ecru in 7 minutes, and that's with explanation. Okie doke.